I know you think you've got it so good being married to a hotshot Hollywood mover and shaker, but I want you to hear a sentence that was said in the Geiger household not 7 days ago that will prove that I am the luckiest man alive. Listen to this. Listen to
was
this.
the phrase, listen, I know it's Tuesday night, but...
That's another reason that I'm the world's luckiest man. But listen to this. I had to take...
It's not the winter solstice. That's what...
That's not my birthday. This happened, and I just stood there and marvel at my wife. She said, coming back from grocery shopping, they didn't have the sausage that you like for breakfast, so I'm just making you my own. And she made this breakfast sausage. Yes. From scratch. Because she knows I like a certain spicy, hot Italian sausage. And she said, I know what you like. She says, I think I can come pretty close. She made her own homemade sausage because the grocery store didn't have the kind that I like. And it's amazing.
Oh, okay. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yes.
First of all, you like spicy Italian sausages. That's fair. But also, like the sign of a successful marriage is when someone knows what your love language is. And clearly, yes. Brad's love language is like, oh, you've cooked me something. That's amazing. And then I can, you're like that. You're happy. You're literally eating out on that for the rest of the week. You're like, this is great. I've got a homemade sausage.
I come home at night from the studio. And very often she's cooking dinner at that time, and I walk up the stairs into the house. I come in through the basement. They don't let me come in through the front door. People see me up there, so I come up through the basement.
They don't want the talk. Yeah.
And I smell this house full of cooking smells, and I look at my wife, and I fall in love every time I walk. I see that
that's great.
In the kitchen. It's just. You're right. You cook me food, I'm yours forever. and if you're a good cook, even more so.
Well, let me ask you, because I actually don't know the process. What, and I think I'm about to be disgusted, but what do you use for the sheathing on a sausage? She
didn't do sheathing per se. She made it like patties. She made it into patties.
Oh, that kind of sausage. Yeah. Oh, okay. Separate question. Why is that also considered sausage? Is sausage the sort of mash that is the meat that's the innards? Is that what a sausage is?
And also the spices that are used. The spices made it. And actually, she made this sausage like healthier than the stuff that she gets. We get our sausages actually from a butcher at Reading Terminal Market. Because we trust the meat a little bit more from those guys than at the grocery store. But yeah, in this particular case, she made it even healthier, and a lot of it had to do with the consistency and the spices.
Yeah. Okay. So completely separate from everything else. Can I just ask you, because even as a kid, I was like, on the rare occasions where we'd go to Denny's or something and they would say, do you want sausage?
Yeah.
And as a kid, you'd go, yeah, I want sausage. And they would bring out this round puck thing. I'd be like, even as a 7-year-old, I was like, what the F is this? This is not a sausage.
What happened to that round puck thing?
So this is a legitimate question. As a culture, as a language, how did we not say, these are two very different things? This is a meat patty and this is a round sausage. This is a sausage link. Like, why are they both considered sausage? That's bonkers to me.
My understanding is that puck was the innards of the sausage. If they would have taken that innards and put it into a casing, it would have been a tube sausage. It's the same thing in two different formats.
So it's the same stuff that's just like back in the day they ran out of sheep's bladder to sheath it or whatever it was that they used.
Oh yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want to know
it's
what they were using for casings.
It's literally like, whatever you do, and if you're ever in Scotland, don't trust them. Just say, I'd like another pint.
Yes.
Don't say, yes, I'd love another plate of this, because I've learned not to trust my Scottish friends.
There's plenty of nutrients in Guinness, and there's plenty of nutrients in a good Scotch. You don't need to eat that badly.
You don't need to. Okay, so it's the sausage is defined by what's inside the sausage, not the sheathing.
We're going to hear from a sausage expert, I'm sure, that tell me I'm wrong, but that's been my understanding of it. Yes.
Because here was my feeling about how this must have gotten messed up. I feel like In Germany, they have very distinctive words, and they're called very different things. Yeah. But Americans brought it over, the immigrants brought it over, and Americans just messed it up. And we started calling everything sausage, even though they're very distinct things. Yeah. Honest to God, I feel like somewhere in 1820, someone messed it up, and everyone else was like, yeah, that's also a sausage. That's
sausage.
Fine.
Yeah, you're close enough. Sausage. Yeah, because the problem with all that stuff is that the German words had too many syllables, like bratwurst and lederhosen, although that's not a sausage. But we don't do with all those syllables, so we shorten everything to as short as it possibly. We can't even see bratwurst anymore. We got to call them brats.
Yeah, exactly. And then we had, at one point in American history, we had 5 beautiful spellings for ketchup, and now we've just reduced it down to 1. Yeah. Brad, we've lost the beauty of language. We can't have cat soup anymore. No. I don't even know what to think. So I say, hello, everybody. Welcome to Comic Lab, the show about making sausages and making comics.
And not knowing how the sausage is made and making a living from comics. Actually, this entire show is about finding out how the sausage is made. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his friend Dave Kellett, who has heard too much about his sausage today. So I'm going to say I'm the cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of the documentary strip.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, why don't you introduce the third person in the room today?
Well, Brad, you can tell by the smile on my face, I am so dang excited to welcome one of our favorite people in the world, one of the most talented cartoonists and writers we've ever met, Dylan Meconis. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yay, it's so fun to be back.
It's been a hot minute, and we are excited to talk to you. And so for the folks that are not familiar with Dylan's work, we're specifically going to be talking about the excellent book, Queen of the Sea, but also you want to look for the whole History Smasher series. Well, not the whole series, but you have been on a series of those series, right? Is that right?
Indeed. I did all of the interiors for, I think, the first 3 volumes, and I've been doing the covers for the whole series since then.
And the covers are chef's kiss. Yes. They're so great.
Oh, they're a blast. They're so fun to make.
Also, Outfoxed, Bite Me, which has been running which has been online for how long now? When was the start date on that one?
The year 2000.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
She's an OG.
Also, the long-running series Family Man and The Long Con, which came out from, was it IDW?
It was Oni. Yeah, 2 volumes.
It was Oni, that's right, yep. Also a designer, also a printmaker, also a book cover artist, a community organizer, also the best darn person in comics. Yeah. Also a pal from Alaska, which we can talk about if Brad's willing. But anyway, Dylan, thank you so much for jumping on the show with us. It has been, I think, at least 2 years since we've had you on the show, right?
I think it's been longer than that.
I was actually looking up so I pronounced Meconis correctly, and I think the last time was pre-COVID. It was 2019.
Yeah, it was before. I remember because I was still working on pages for Queen of the Sea, and Dave was quietly losing his mind as I was like sitting in his living room frantically watercoloring.
I remember that. And that's partially why we wanted to have you on today, because we have gotten in the hopper a couple of great questions from folks specifically about coloring with unique physical mediums, and then all sorts of stuff about the coloring process. And Brad and I were like, who is better to talk to than Dylan for this? Because that uniquely beautiful book, Queen of the Sea, which was voted most beautiful book in the Kellett household, by the way. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember that.
That was a big awards day. That was a really.
I'll never forget the look on the dog's face.
He was as shocked as anyone. He thought his book was a surefire winner. Anyway, so Brad, do you want to jump us right in with the first question that came in on physical media? Because Dylan is the perfect cartoonist to talk to about this.
Yeah, this comes in from one of our Comic Lab backers who says, I've been doing some small black and white projects without digital tools lately, lettering, penciling, and inking. And I was wondering about coloring with tools like crayons, pencils, watercolors, India inks, etc. What recommendations do you have for this type of process? I'm thinking like which paper to use, any considerations for scanning, but I'm probably missing a whole lot more things. Thank you immensely. So, Dylan, give us a little primer on what I would call analog coloring techniques.
Yeah, this is the ultimate what pen do you use question.
Yeah. We can really get into the weeds on this.
Well, if you really want like the world's watercolor comics expert, you'll have to have Tyler Crook on at some point. My friend Tyler is absolutely stunning, classically trained illustrator who's done a terrifying number of books in watercolor that I am completely in awe of. Harlow County was kind of the one that broke across everybody's consciousness, but I've learned a lot from him for sure. And hopefully, I kind of know what I'm doing at this point. I'm one of those weirdos who likes to do every project a different way. I think the formal...
I have noticed that about you. You do kind of reinvent yourself every time, don't you?
I think the formal term is ADHD.
Well, now, so let me ask you this, and can I pause you before you answer?
Yeah.
So Queen of the Sea, which, by the way, I, again, hugely recommend to everyone, go check it out. Beautiful, beautiful book. For the sequel to Queen of the Sea, have you changed any of your process? Or you're like, I figured it out, I'm sticking with it, or did the ADHD kick in?
I like calling it Queen of the Sequel.
Nice.
That's not actually the title. It's probably going to be Prince of the City. I have been stuck in the scripting zone for so long that I'm not even letting myself think about the tasty parts of production.
Right.
But I'm definitely going to have a large part of the story set in an artist studio, in a painting studio. And that means that I get to explore all kinds of historical art media, including I really wanted to do egg tempera.
Yeah.
Because that before oil paint really became, the primary medium for Western painting, egg tempera was the number one thing. It cures in daylight. It lasts thousands of years. It uses...
Does it?
Isn't that what the Renaissance people used? That's what Leonardo used, was egg tempera, right?
Yes.
As I tell people all the time, I'm surprisingly ignorant about a lot of art history.
So tell me that Western religious art, all the iconography, it was, it's an incredible medium. And it really is wild how it's completely natural materials, literally just cures from the UV light that you put it out in the sun for a few days and voila, it's basically self-lacquering.
The egg in egg tempera was chicken egg? What was it?
So you can use almost any kind of egg.
Okay.
Turns out, eating chicken eggs wasn't as big of a thing back in the day.
So what was an egg that was raised or readily available for a painter in quantity back then?
Probably a lot of pigeon eggs. No, I'm making that up. Probably goose. A lot of goose eggs.
Goose, of course.
That'd be
that
a
was more
bigger
meat.
egg,
Yeah.
too,
I was like,
yes,
goose
Get
eggs,
more
of
egg
course.
with
Well,
that.
no, because literally I was thinking of Dickens as soon as you said goose. I was like, what was around a lot? Okay, a goose. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, the great thing about chickens is that they do lay eggs just all the freaking time. So they're just little factories for that stuff. But yeah, I took an egg tempera workshop here in town.
Wow.
There's a great organization called Wildcraft that does a lot of traditional crafting workshops and classes. They're made up of the former professors at the Oregon College of Arts and Crafts, which sadly closed a while back. And they're just like, well, let's just do it ourselves. So anytime they have like a traditional technique thing, I jump on it. So yeah, there's going to be some there's going to be some egg tempera painting in the book for sure.
And you're going to do it yourself in the
Heck yeah.
So you're going to make an egg tempera painting made out of egg tempera on the page, is what you're saying?
Yeah, why not?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
stuff.
can I sidetrack by saying, so imagine the three of us are in the 11th century or whatever, 9th century.
Yeah.
How the hell do you go, you know what I could paint with?
Eggs!
Who makes that leap of hey, Mr. Honkers has some extra eggs here. Well, not Mr. Honkers. Hey, Mrs. Honkers has some extra eggs. That sounds worse now that I say it out loud. I'm going to take that one right back. I'm going to take that.
Would you like me to get you out of this? Hey, I've got an idea. How do you want your eggs this morning? Scrambled, fried? No, I think I'd like a landscape.
I would love it in a religious iconic painting. That'd be great. Yeah. All right. Anyway, okay. So yes. Okay. So you're going to do egg tempera, but take us through your traditional use of physical media, which I was astounded by when I saw you doing it. I think I saw you doing it in Seattle and then later in Alaska for that book. And You were doing it on traditional watercolor paper, right? If I can take you through it.
Yes.
It was lightly penciled, I think, or was it light boxed and then watercolored over the light box? Remind me what you did.
So I had a real left hand, right hand kind of process for that book where the art process started with doing empty layouts in Manga Studio, Clip Studio now, where I did all of the lettering and I did all of the panel layouts. I did not do any drawing within the panel layouts. I just wanted little empty boxes that suggested compositions that then later I could come back and be like, oh, look, here's the invitation.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have to make, it doesn't feel like every page is a crucial decision that way. And then what I did was I turned off all of the word balloons and I printed out the empty panels and did some little tiny thumbnail doodling, decided that sucked, and went back into Clip Studio, did all of my roughing in Clip Studio digitally. And then I printed it out with a laser printer and I light boxed with oil pencils onto the watercolor paper. The oil-based pencils they don't run or move around when water or another liquid medium is put on top of them. So basically I inked with oil-based pencil. And then I did a yellow wash on everything that wasn't a pasty person's skin tone to kind of unify everything, give everything that warm glow. And then I just put down, I literally had 2 other main colors, a typical red and a very bluish Payne's gray. And I did the classical watercoloring way where instead of mixing colors in the pan, you do glazes, you do successive layers on the paper. Brad is nodding his head like, this is insane.
Yeah. No, I'm loving this.
It kind of kept me from going too bonkers with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and this is something I wanted to point out from the very beginning. You started, in my opinion, really smart in that you did the lettering first. You weren't trying to cram your lettering into illustrations and find a little spot here, a little spot there. You establish the lettering first, you do your composition, you probably went back and nudged the lettering a little bit here, a little bit there. Then you're light boxing that and laying that color down in layers and swatches. I think that's a really smart way to go. If I wanted to find the kind of oil pencils, because I've never heard of an oil pencil before, where would I find the kind of oil pencils that you would recommend?
So what I used, tragically, the hardness that I prefer, ladies, is no longer made, but the line of pencils in general still exists, so you can use them. It is the Pitt by Faber-Castell.
Oh, okay.
The Pitt oil-based pencil in Schwarz black.
Schwarz. May the Schwartz be with you.
Yeah.
Can I just say as a side note, I hate it when much loved art materials slightly change. Like they did. Swarthmore did that with, or not Strathmore, not Swarthmore, did that with their paper, their Bristol vellum paper on me.
That was a scandal.
Yeah.
I know. I think they actually went back because there were a lot of people that were complaining about like my stuff is running, it's not working as well. And then I don't know. I ended up switching papers, but
I ended up switching to digital when that happened.
Really?
That was what pushed me. I had a Wacom Cintiq on my desk for a year.
Gathering
and
dust.
I was terrified of it. And then I got a package of Bristol that just sent me up the wall. And I'm like, well, if this is where we're headed, I'm going digital. And I plugged that thing in and never looked back.
Yeah, they messed up the sizing on a huge batch. I don't know if they were actually reformulating it or if it was just like an industrial failure. But it was all very bleedy. You couldn't use anything with any moisture on it. I had that problem with the watercolor paper that I was using. I had always used Arches before, which is very good reputation because I am drawing very small. That whole book was on 7x10 pages.
Yeah, it was very delicate. It was really, and by delicate I mean like it was very. I remember looking at it going, oh, it's almost at size, really, right? Maybe it was adjusted slightly.
Nope, at size, pretty much at size. It kept me from getting too detail obsessed.
Yeah. Good call. Okay.
Now you said you originally used Arches. Did you move to something else?
So because I was drawing small, I wanted to use a watercolor paper that didn't have too much texture because it disrupts, line continuity. It makes for a lovely textured look on a larger piece, but in a smaller one, I didn't want lots of variations in the washes. So I wanted to use hot press, which means they press the paper mash when it's still hot and it's nice and flat, like a more ordinary piece of paper. And Arches is well known. They do a hot press that I'd used before and really liked. I tried it. It sucked.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Expensive pad of paper. It did not take the pencil very stably. Like it just kind of smeared. It was really weird and kind of disappointing. I really didn't know what to do about it. And at the art supply store, the nearest one to me at the time was a Blick. I'm like, well, I guess I'll just try a little bit of everything and see what I can find that works. I knew I didn't want one that was made out of wood pulp because that's lower quality, doesn't last as long. If you do multiple washes or need to lift paint up, it starts to kind of shred. So I was like, well, they have the House white labeled watercolor paper in a hot press block of 7x10. Blick kind of is like the Trader Joe's of art supplies, where they will, they'll work with a third-party vendor and then they'll basically buy the entire stock with the right to put their branding on it. So they had very mysterious language about from an ancient European press. And you're like, in Wisconsin?
Name Barry? Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. We'll see. They've got a lot of student grade material, which is great when you're just starting out or you just need something quick. But I don't know. I was skeptical, but gosh darn it, it was really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and because it's their white labeled brand, it was much more affordable. So it was just the House Blick premium watercolor.
Did you pull a Charles Schultz and buy up all the stock so that you had enough of it for the?
I did buy a considerable amount of it. Just as now with these this extinct hardness of pencil, I will have friends in Europe send them to me when they find them at in art remainder stores. It's very sweet.
I do the same with European friends for sable brushes because, as you guys both know, sable is, I think, not legal in the U.S. and Canada. Maybe it's illegal in Canada for, I guess, humanitarian reasons. But old Dave Kellett throws that humanitarian stuff out the window. I'm like, I want me a sable brush. So the thing I would love to jump ahead on, because this is the part where it actually keeps me from using sable brush in my cartooning, because as we all know, a brush just gives you a better line than, say, a micron pen or even a Pitt pointed, the felty pen tips that they have. But what stops me, gang, is that every time I draw a Sheldon in with a sable brush or any kind of brush, I 100% am sure it's dry. Oh, gang, it's definitely dry this time. I've given it hours, gang. It's been in the sun. There's no way that it could not be dry. Yeah. And I put it on my scanner face. And then I lift it up, and only to discover the next time I go to scan that there's this big blotch of ink on my scanner. And then you have to try to non-scratchily get it off of your inker glass.
There's shellac in India ink, so it really
and
gloms.
So it compounds the problem. And then sooner or later, over the course of 3 years, you end up with a scanner that you're going to have to clean up every time because there's the spot from 6 months ago, and you have to go into your digital file and clean it up. So I've actually stopped using a brush because I can't be bothered to wait the 5 days to scan it, 90. And so, Dylan, with physical materials, were you camera ready or were you scanner ready? Like, what did you use to capture your material? And I know that's a little bit jumping ahead of the process, but I just wanted to get that question out.
It's totally a good one. I mean, here's the thing. Scanners are cameras.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of
you get out of here with your witchcraft. Scanners are cameras.
It's true. And the real difference, obviously, is that, you're pressing it on a plate versus photographing it from a fixed height with, out exterior lighting. The great thing about working at 7x10 is that you can fit that page on a consumer grade scanner. I did some obsessive researching, unlike all that non-obsessive researching I do, about the best, accessible to a dirtbag like me scanners for natural media. And God bless, there are a lot of really wonderful artists out there who do utterly thankless work reviewing things like scanners, things like light fastness on colored materials, and they just share it on their good old-fashioned blogs.
Yeah.
And there should be a Nobel Prize for that kind of behavior. It's wonderful. So I found a lot of really great resources from watercolor artists who were laying it down about the best possible, currently available, not $5,000 scanners for watercolor art. And a lot of things have become easier in recent years, like the ability to scan in several pieces if you have a larger format. Now that programs like Photoshop and other image processors have a lot of automatic seaming utilities. So instead of like sitting there trying to like airbrush the seam between scans, it will just automatically sort of blend them together very seamlessly. But obviously not a problem I had because I was a smart dude who worked in small
7x10
format.
Yeah. So can I ask if you happen to remember the brand for a cartoonist that's looking for an affordable scanner that does well with capturing at good, like, because one thing that you alluded to was that the light source within the scanner and the scanner bed camera and all that sort of stuff can have a huge impact on the final look, especially of color work. So what brand did you end up landing on for Queen of the Sea?
I'm glad you asked that question, and I will pull it up right now out of my email. It's from the Epson Perfection line. I have a lot of respect for. Sounds so dorky. I've got a lot of respect for the Epson line. I don't believe the scanner is in production anymore, but it's the Epson Perfection V600. And you almost certainly could find one on eBay for not very much. And if you're looking for something that is currently being produced, check those blogs, search for them. See what people are recommending.
And I'm sure there's something else in the Epson Perfection series that might be along that same level of quality, right?
Absolutely. And the nice thing about scanners is that the technology doesn't change as quickly as some of the other things out there. So like,
that's true, actually. Yeah.
We're all sitting here being like, my processor's 6 months old and I can no longer play Minesweeper. But, camera only gets so good. And a camera that can be moved on an arm only gets so good. So a lot of scanner models out there have been in production for 10 years or more. And that means that there are often a lot more used models out there that are in good condition or where you just need to replace the scanning plate or they're just a little scuffed on the outside. So they're deals a go-go.
Yeah.
And for anyone looking for a black and white, I will just say that the brand that I use is also Epson. They have a workforce line that's great because you can get 8.5 by 10, 11 by 17 paper, and a scanner bed that's gigantic. If like me, you're drawing on a much size, and you can get it very affordable for black and white. I actually am colorblind, so I can't say to the quality of the color capture. But if you're just scanning black and white, I have had great success with the Epson workforce line for day-to-day scanning. Not super expensive, and great for daily use.
Yeah, they're also well respected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
Now that we're talking about scanning, let's take it right to the next level of what comes next. And this is what actually kind of this part terrifies me about working in physical media, because comics involve usually, not all the time, but black lines and type. And all of those things have to be isolated to the black plate, or if you're in Photoshop, the black channel. Otherwise, if those elements are split among the 4 color plates, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, if that gets just a little bit out of register, you're going to end up with fuzzy type or fuzzy lines. Now, I know that it's the year 2026 and they're running these presses just right. It's not like it was in 1991 when I came into newspapers and those presses could be a quarter inch off and they were still putting that thing out on the street and selling it. I realized that. But after 20 years in newspapers, the idea of being out of register terrifies me. So tell me, Dylan, how do I address that whole suite of problems?
Yeah.
Well, you are in some ways living in the past, Brad.
Yeah, I know.
As he takes his statins, right, Dylan?
Yes, I know.
Patrick Stewart on the Lipitor commercial. Darmak and Gelada tonight.
That's right.
Nobody under 40 gets that reference. Thank you.
Listen, can I just say, Temba his arms wide? That's all I just want to say in response to that.
I'm more in a Shaka when the walls fell place myself these days.
The fact that we do all 3 lines. There's really only like 6 lines to remember, but we remembered them. That's great.
What more do you need?
Okay. So because I remember how you did it, but this is going to be fun for people to hear how you did the lettering on Queen of the Sea, which I thought was genius.
Yeah, so I did the lettering digitally, which solved that problem completely. So a lot of times now, people are just putting black in all the channels. They're using rich black on everything. So so there are 4 main color channels in color printing that is offset printing. So that uses cyan, magenta, yellow, and usually black. The K in CMYK is not for black. It is key.
Oh,
what?
You know what?
Is that?
I did not know that, and I considered myself pretty smart on this stuff. That's amazing.
How many years have I been dealing with CMYK? I did not know that. So it's considered the key color, and you can set it to black. Is that the idea?
It is traditionally set to black because that is the usual color that body text is being set in.
Right. But you could have a book like, say, Blankets or something where there is no black and you're setting the key to a blue or something, right?
Entirely possible. So just by tradition, it will be black, but in reality, key really just means the primary plate that you're using for everything that is not mixing ink. So you've got those colors. Printing has gotten a lot more precise. And often creators are just sending, scanning their ink with watercolor. It's fine. The line art will be a rich black. Rich black is when you have a mixture of the cyan, magenta, yellow, and the black. With obviously the black at a higher level. Often that if you're setting it digitally, it'll be 40% of all the other colors and then 100% of black, which gives a lovely rich black tone.
Yes.
But as Brad was saying, it's easier to have those plates. When you have the more plates you have, the more likely it is they're not all going to line up perfectly. And there's going to be a little kind of rainbowy fuzz effect.
Especially if you have very, very fine lines.
Very, very fine lines. Yeah, that's way more of a problem. Everybody is scanning at a high enough resolution, and printers with, the increase of digital technology have gotten more precise. I still get bothered when I see a graphic novel. That's a fancy word for comic books. I don't know if you guys know that. When I see a graphic novel that has clearly been digitally lettered, so not hand lettered on the page with the art, and I can tell that the digital lettering is in rich black and there is blurring, which happens more and more because I think in general, the printing is good enough and people don't really care. It's too much of a hassle. Production people at publishers are already kind of overwhelmed just trying to get, the page numbers on, and integrate all of the art, make sure that the text is working and that it's live digital text. That's a thing that publishers prefer if you're doing digital lettering nowadays.
Oh my God. Yes.
Really? Live digital text?
Yeah, they want it to be live in part because it aids them with word searching, and also it's easier for swapping in translation.
Okay.
And fixing errors, I'm sure.
And fixing errors, because they can literally just crack open that PDF like a crab shell and, fix a goof or edit a style sheet problem. I had a whole throwdown over ellipses that I won't even go into. But I do see that happening. Like, I saw it in one of the Cat Kid Comic Club books. That's Dave
Really?
Gillies. That's a print run of millions. So somebody at the publisher was just like, meh. He does a lot of hand lettering, so presumably it would have just been too much of a bear, and they wanted to get the book out the door.
And just to be clear, because he intentionally with Cat Kid and with Dogman intentionally does sort of a Warhol-esque offsetting intentionally sometimes, but this is not that, is what you're saying. This was, you could tell it was a mistake of how they set up the file.
Yeah, because I'm a big dork.
Right. No, that's fair. I noticed the same kind of thing too. And it blows your mind when you're like, this had an initial run of 6 million books. How did you do this?
Come on, gang.
But
you can get an intern to just lasso that stuff.
That's when publishing is in trouble, when you're like, literally a second set of eyes? No one could have looked at this? Anyway.
I mean, but Brad's right. That is why a lot of sort of old school people who really want a super crisp, clean printing look, or who are working with just black and a spot color, and any overprinting looks really obvious. So you want to only do it very intentionally. They will do the line art, and then they'll scan that line art in, and then they will do the coloring separately, either in natural media on a different piece of paper, kind of like, I think Alison Bechdel does that, where she literally is like light boxing over her inks, doing watercolor, and then like painstakingly lowering it and re-registering it, and then scanning them individually and lining them up. And I'm like,
oh, that's what Waterston did too for covers and stuff. Yeah, he had the black plate totally separate on clear acetate. Yeah. I didn't know that's how Allison worked. That's bonkers to me. That seems like a great way to drive yourself mad, is doing it that way.
See, the trick is to start out already having OCD.
Yeah. A lot of us have to develop it along the way, but to have it going in is a lot smarter. Yeah.
Amazing hack, guys.
I
like the little ting off the left side of your eye and the teeth as you said it. The trick, gang, is OCD. Ting, ting.
So I sidestepped a lot of that issue by doing my line art in pencil.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to be a solid black, and doing all my lettering digitally. So I had a lot of control over that. I had great help from a lettering artist and amazing illustrator in his own right named DC Hopkins, who a studio mate recommended to me. He helped me a lot with translating my Clip Studio lettering over into InDesign, because ultimately that was the best way to get it in live text, Adobe friendly format for the publisher. Which allowed me to keep crushing on the actual art instead of spending a whole lot of time rebuilding all of my lettering. God bless.
Yeah.
But the color plate issues weren't such a big deal for me in that case. And it's really something you just have to decide how fussy you are about it. I think it's more of a big deal with lettering. And if it were me doing a project where I'm doing the ink work and the coloring on the page, on the same page, and I wanted to do hand lettering on the page, I would take the time on, scanning in the page and digitizing. I would take the time to lasso that text and make sure that it's at just 000 black. Isolate it on its own channel, on its own layers. That's also part of why I don't like working on super textured paper, because then the word balloons have texture in them.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you've got a whole nother bunch of variables you got to deal with.
Yeah. But to get back to our question asker's question, though, like what's interesting for Dylan and for myself and for anybody else that's working with original art still is that there actually is a lot of digital stuff, or with original art, a lot of digital stuff still in the original art process, both beforehand, using the power of digital for movement, resizing, flipping, turning, rotating, then bringing it into original art, bringing it back into digital and applying again more digital appliques, whether it be lettering or cleanups or, color approaches. So just back to the question asker, you might find even in your move towards physical media and original art that you still want to keep incorporating digital, both in the prep stage and the cleanup stage, sometimes even in the middle stage. I've seen people go back and forth between digital, original, like twice in their process, which sounds crazy, but I've seen that happen. And so because both have advantages in terms of natural beauty versus what digital is able to do in terms of manipulation. So is there any stage that we left out, Dylan, in how you work?
I mean, I did optimization, making sure that the scanned images, I didn't just take raw scans. I built up a whole post-production color adjustment process. And then I, sent some very expensive printouts and one original sample page to the publisher so that they could kind of key the final wet print to look in the same range. They sent proofs back to me. It was a whole process. There are things I would tweak now for future printing, but it was really interesting. I did other stuff in that book as well. There was embroidery in that book.
That's right.
Yeah, which I don't embroider. I can't be trusted with needles. But my nearly lifelong friend and cartoonist Erica Moen is a big needlework person. And I basically commissioned her to do the embroidery. I did the designs and then I had her do the actual embroidering. And then I had to scan the embroidery and she just did it with random colored thread. And so then I recolored the thread digitally to match the color scheme of the book. It was a blast.
Oh, wow. What a cool back and forth between pals to do that. That's awesome. How does embroidery scan, just out of curiosity? Like, did you throw a black cloth over the back of it to make sure? Because, sometimes the lid doesn't close very well when you have a larger physical object. Did it scan okay?
Yeah, she took it off of the hoop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Hoop is a fun word to say.
Took
it off of the hoop. And so it actually laid pretty flat. And, it's just on the white backing. So it was not that big of a pain. Like, just airbrushing out some of the texture of the backing material was the main challenge. And then just picking the recoloring. It did really well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you have a brand of watercolor that you gravitate towards? Because we talked about paper. We've talked about scanners. What kind of watercolor paints do you prefer?
Let me haul over my watercolor caddy.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Holy cats.
Look at that.
It
Holy
spins.
guacamole. Look at that.
That's like a plastic Lazy Susan full of, I'd say, about a dozen compartments on each of the four sides. Each one of them has a tube of watercolors in there, and that's amazing.
Is that a lipstick Lazy Susan? Is that what that is?
Yes, it is, Dave.
I know my lipstick Lazy Susans.
Dave, that's very impressive.
This is another thing that the art blog contributors of the world turned me on to. Something like this, very cheap, but super effective.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the paints that I used for Queen of the Sea and that I enjoy using are Daniel Smith watercolors. They are, I think they're still Seattle based. They do a lot of mineral based colors, and they have some really cool granulating textures.
Oh, granulating textures. Tell me more.
Granulating. Girl.
Brad doesn't granulate at home.
So there's a lot of, you can get really granular with watercolors.
I see you.
Sorry.
But I will say for younger cartoonists, just so we don't pass that moment up, a lot of makeup storage and a lot, honestly, of fishing tackle supply storage are perfect for
tackle
art supplies.
Box. I love that.
Honest to God, anytime Gloria, my wife, wants to go into Sephora, I'm like, I'm there. I'm happy to look at Sephora because I'm always looking at the storage boxes. And honestly, anytime my cousin's like, you want to go literally into this fishing place? I'm like, yes, I'm happy to go into this fishing place because I'm happy to look at tackle boxes. So yeah, great, cheap comparatively cheapish storage compared to like going into like, as Dylan said, a Blick and buying like these custom art. As soon as they put artist in front of it, the price goes up $20. You know what I mean? So fishing tackle boxes and makeup supplies, great for art supply storage, just as an aside. But keep going, Dylan. I'm sorry about that.
No, it was great because I had very limited space for quite a long time. I had during COVID. I also had a baby. My wife was using the home office for endless video conference calls, and so I really needed to use every single centimeter of space. And this caddy was a real blast.
That thing's great. And by the way, you have filled that caddy. How many distinctive colors are in there?
I still have room, Dave.
No, but I mean, like, are these mixes that you have made? Or are you like at a store somewhere going like Azulian blue? Oh my goodness, I don't have that one.
These are all straight up Daniel Smith tubes, so they're coming as they are. I mean, I've got some other stuff in here. Like sometimes the cheaper brand just has a particular mix or a particular tint that you like, even for colors that are I'm making air quotes here, that are standard. Like what's a great example? Payne's Gray is one that any watercolor company makes a Payne's Gray, but they are all subtly different. It's like, every Italian restaurant is going to have a red sauce, but the exact, recipe for that red sauce is a little different. And
Thank you for bringing that into the food realm so Brad understands. That's
no problem.
No, okay, I'm back with you.
I know how it is.
Well, listen, I hate to put you on the spot, but since we got you here, I'm gonna throw it out there anyway, because like Dave said at the top of the show, he and I are nincompoops when it comes to this. So we've got to get the most out of this we possibly can. And our question asker asked about, aside from watercolor, this person mentioned crayons, colored pencils, stuff like that. Do you have any recommendations or advice when it comes to things like crayons and colored pencils, for example?
Oh, yes. And I should say, like, use what you like. That's the most important thing. Like, don't exclude yourself from trying other stuff, because sometimes you're like, this is the pen for me. And then 10 years later, you try another pen and you're like, God damn it.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
I could have been living like this. So try everything, even if maybe it feels a little spendy or whatever. Expensive doesn't always mean better for your process.
Right.
But just
true.
Give it a shot. If you have other pals who are artists, do a supply swap. I know it sounds kinky, but it's absolutely worth doing. And
it depends on how you do it.
Yes. But I have pan watercolor palettes from Gansai Tambi. I've got stuff in here from Cotman, which is like the absolute student grade. Like you probably got it in junior high art class, because their Payne's Gray just has the perfect formulation for the color I wanted in this case, right? But when I want a super cool granulating underwater scene that's a combination of two different cool colors, then I'm going to use this neat Daniel Smith paint that costs a lot more and comes nice and wet out of the tube, so I don't. Oh God, this all sounds very salacious. So that I don't have to scrub around a dry pan for a really long time to get enough of both of the pigments that are in there. So in terms of crayons, I haven't used that much like professional crayon, and colored pencil is very similar. Yeah. In a lot of ways, the formulation can be really similar in that it's a mix of wax and the pigment, and so you just kind of have to decide what texture you like laying down best. Honestly, what's right to you is probably going to be the best. That doesn't necessarily mean Crayola.
Right.
Because stuff for kids often has a much higher wax content, so it doesn't have like the amount of color for each stroke is not going to be great. You have to build up a whole lot to really, it's not going to make a nice even color. So it depends on the effect you want, and it depends on what is accessible and within your budget. There are, again, a lot of amazing creators on YouTube and who are blogging who will do brand comparisons, and you can see what their results look like.
Give
it a look. buy one.
Do a little research is what you're saying. Take a little interest and like you did yourself, delve into this stuff. Yeah.
I absolutely have gone to the art supply store and just gotten like one red colored pencil from 4 different brands just to see which one ended up being the best.
Yeah.
And I found a lot of great stuff that way. And I have unfortunately discovered Caran d'Ache, which is a very spendy pencil. It's so good.
What's the name of it again? Cara and Dash?
Caran d'Ache.
Caran d'Ache.
CARAND''Ash. Swiss made.
Oh my gosh.
Swiss made. Oh, fantastic. But I will second your advice to do material swaps, especially at Comic-Cons when you find yourself sitting next to somebody at a booth and you're like, oh, what are you drawing with? And then like at the end of the show, I have always swapped out and I have found 3 or 4 fantastic drawing pencils, 3 or 4 fantastic pens or brushes or quills that I hadn't tried before. And sometimes what's great about the trade is you try them right there on the spot and you go, oh no, that is not for me. And you just saved yourself $10 for buying a spendy quill that you're never going to use because having tried it, you're like, that ain't for me. I can't draw that way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do discover also that the magic is in the person holding the art supply.
Yes.
Oh, it's absolutely like that story of the old man and the cheap violin, that comes down at the auctioneer. Remember that story where Brad doesn't remember this story. The auctioneer's trying to auction this old beat up violin.
Like that old story of the fish merchant and the dentist.
God damn it! You know what? You were over here talking about print techniques from 1985, so don't give me this grief about. Well, speaking of old techniques, did you? I've never asked you this before, Dylan. Did you limit your palette to avoid purples and blues that might not have existed back then? You know what I mean? In the time period your story was taking place in. Mythologically, because I know it's not technically in a European state, but
yeah, I call it left-handed history, where it's sort of a smush of a few different decades in the 16th century, but then kind of fantasized so that the various nations of Europe are approximately where they are and what they were, but they all have different names. And
right.
Basically, it's my escape hatch for stuff I find boring. I'm like, no, I don't actually want to write about the Tudors. People know too much about them.
Yeah. And then they call you on it, which is so annoying. You're like, just enjoy the story.
What I've always said is never let the facts get in the way of good story. And there's a reason for that. I just as an aside, just rediscovered Jeeves and Wooster by P.G. Woodhouse.
Oh, yeah. Those are great, except for the racist bits. Yeah.
Yes. A little bit problematic there. But I got a little bit fascinated by just this whole what's going on underneath the surface. And then so I went and looked, and it's like, he kind of combined about 3 or 4 different decades, because there's stuff that says, oh, this is, 1919, and then all of a sudden a character from 1935 will get thrown in. And it's kind of like what you're talking about. It's like, hey, I'm writing a story here, and left-handed history is one of the best terms for that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, it comes in handy in interviews. Trying to explain it's historical fantasy. There's no magic. 10-year-old me would be so disappointed in me for not having magic.
I've seen your art, and I beg to disagree. There's lots of magic on those pages.
Oh, Bradley J. Geiger, listen to that. Oh my goodness.
Barf.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a fantastic conversation. I'm looking at the clock here. We're running out of time. Dylan, we had another question from a question asker who wants to know how to become a colorist. If you would be so kind, would you stick around and we'll record that as part of the next Pro Tips episode?
I would love to.
That's what I love to hear.
That's the patented Dylan kindness. Look at that.
Yeah.
Dylan, I've got some windows I need cleaned. Can you stick around for that? Listen, Brad, now's the time. What household, what you need taxes filed, Brad? Dylan's right there for you.
Yeah, maybe. I'd love anybody to do my taxes.
All right, but you're changing the kids' diapers while I'm doing that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm
telling you, I became like a ninja of diaper changes, because my wife was breastfeeding, and I kind of made a deal, because that's a lot of work. And I said, wow, you are responsible for everything that comes in. I'm responsible for everything that comes out.
That's
and
beautiful.
So, like, I was, well, it wasn't beautiful at the time. It was messy and stinky. But it was like, I kind of felt like that was the only way I could hold up my end of the bargain, was be on the other end of that bargain.
Please, if your kids get married, please have that in the wedding toast, on the advice to couples.
That was
One of you is responsible for the input, one must be responsible for the output.
Yeah, not a bad
I
system.
tell you what, when I was panicking about becoming a parent, Brad gave me that exact advice. I don't know, Brad, if you remember this, that in that hotel room, I think it was at what's the SPX, the one in is it in Delaware?
Bethesda, Maryland.
Maryland. At SPX, I was panicking, and Brad said, here's 10 things you need to know as a parent, and that was one of them. And I told Gloria that, and she's like, I will take you up on that offer. Yep. That is fantastic. And I changed all the diapers for like 2.5 years, whatever.
Brad was like, you're the poop man now.
Yeah. This is your life. It's a shitty existence, but here you go.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But listen, those 3 a.m. diaper changes go a long way in a marriage. That's a really good precedent to set.
Yeah, it's very helpful when you absolutely forget Valentine's Day 6 years in a row. So that it makes up for it. You know what I mean?
It's on
so
the same date every year.
Dylan, when you're married to Dave Kellett, you've got to have low expectations. I'm not great. I am not great.
Dave, it's not like Valentine's Easter Day, where it's like the first full moon after the vernal equinox. Come on.
If you guys think that, if you ever think that maybe you're not doing so great in your relationship, compare yourself to me. You're going to feel a lot better. I started webcomics on February 14th, 2000 was the first day that Greystonian was published online. February 14th, 2000. I have never forgotten the anniversary of Greystonian. I've forgotten a couple Valentine's Day. So if you ever think you're not doing so good, compare yourself to me. You're doing great.
I'm just imagining you like trying to have a romantic Valentine's dinner together, and you just keep checking your hit counter.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm
the whole time. You're like, hot damn, 75, baby. Yeah.
That first time I came close to 100 page views in one day. Oh my God. I still remember. I was on top of the world, man.
I remember that too.
Well, Dylan, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for joining us on, and for Patreon listeners, definitely check out the Pro Tips episode that'll be coming up in a hot second here for you. But I want to tell you all, because, and this is quite sincere, Queen of the Sea is one of the most beautiful and one of the most delightful books you will read. You have to go check it out. It is available everywhere fine books are sold, and I guess not so fine books, but it is a fine book. When they always say wherever fine books are sold, it's also available at some weird comic book shops where you walk in and you're like,
trash is sold.
Well, it's always like the Dragon's Taint, and you're like, could you name your comic book shop something else? This is not. We don't need to. Come on, have higher standards for comic book shop names. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Why did I take us down that journey?
That was beautiful.
Anyway, God, that was all supposed to be a lovely buildup of Dylan's beautiful work.
That's where Smaug's missing scale really was located.
It was quite a shot. But anyway, Dylan, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being a pal. Thank you for your wonderful and insightful answers. And thank you for joining us on Pro Tips coming up here soon for everybody that's on Patreon.
It's a date.
Well, Brad, I got to tell you, as someone who's colorblind, this entire episode was like an unfolding miracle to me, because as someone who did not realize that there were colors between black and between white, this was an eye-opening episode for me.
That's right. And that's why we always tell you, when you want to know the grays between black and white, you come to Color Lab. Color Lab? Son of a gun.
Color Lab, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you, he's been doing the show for almost a decade now. Almost a decade. He just called it Color Lab. Although, you know what? Based on today's show, we might as well call it Color Lab. Because Dylan could not have been more of a GD delight. I love having Dylan on the show. It's been far too long. I love Dylan's work. I cannot recommend it enough. I will say one more time, definitely go check out Queen of the Sea. And I will thank Dylan on behalf of both Brad and I and all the listeners of Color Lab for joining us today.
And that just leaves it to me to say that you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
You chickened out. Your hosts have been my friend Brad Geiger, the editor of webcomics.com and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and the handsome co-host of the new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another co-host of the drawing show at wrongwayshow.com, along with our friend Kevin McShane. And don't forget to go check out doubledogbook.com. That Kickstarter is still in full gear, and you absolutely do not want to miss a chance at some of those fantastic rewards.
That's right, my friends. I am super, super proud of this book, doubledogbook.com. It's going to be delightful. It is just pure dog, stupid, goofy joy. Yes. And I'm so happy with how the book is coming out. Thank you for jumping in over at doubledogbook.com. And I will say the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode and all episodes was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
You know what I told? So I ran into somebody in the street just the other day, and I said, you know what, I double dog dare you not to love this doubledogbook.com. That's what I said to him out on the street. And then I said, if you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast chart.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So we'll go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/colorlab.
Color Lab. How about finding out that the K in CMYK stood for key? How about that for a little jaw dropper?
I mean, listen, I thought Brad knew everything about color separation and color preparation. And boy, did Dylan put you to shame. Gang, I want to tell you, congratulations to Dylan for being the new co-host of Color Lab next week. Brad is out. Please welcome Dylan with a big round of applause next week on to next week's Color Lab.